Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. Today we're going to do my very lengthy TBR for November because I've got two exciting readathons that I'm looking forward to getting into. The first is Lovember, which is one that I'm hosting for romance reading, a full month-long readathon with some casual prompts that you can get into at whatever level you like. So I'll link all the details for that down below. And the second is Nonfiction November, hosted by Olive from A Book Olive. And this one is always fun. I have done this readathon multiple times in the past, but this is my first year on BookTube, so very exciting. I am, however, going to keep it pretty light and casual. I do read nonfiction pretty regularly. If you watch my channel, you know that. So I'm going to try for 2 books, but if I can get to more, I've got some ideas floating around. So this is going to be lengthy, as I said, so I will put a jump point because I fully realize that not everyone is interested in romance, and we're going to start with a very long romance TBR. So if you are that person, I was that person until a couple years ago, I will link that jump point down below so you can just hop over to the nonfiction TBR. So let's get right into the books. So first for Lovember, I won't go into the specific details. You can watch the original video, but for this, we have multiple tiers of prompts. So in the tier 1 prompts, the first prompt is historical romance. So I picked for this category, as well as I think a couple other categories, multiple books, just because in those categories, there are things that can really turn me off of a book. So for historical specifically, I tend to like more progressive stuff, really. So if it's a historical that is maintaining traditional gender roles, for instance, I tend to not like that or get along with that. Things like women being ruined, just things I don't really enjoy. So if those things come up, I might want to DNF and have another option. So my first primary option that I want to get to is going to be The Duke Heist by Erica Ridley. And I saw Cousin from Always Doing just raving about another book in this series. I think it's the next book. And so I picked up this one. This is the first book in the series, and this one I think is all about a family who do heists. So let's see what this one's about. Chloe Winchester is completely forgettable, a curse that gives her the ability to blend into any crowd. When the only father she's ever known makes a dying wish for his adopted family of orphans to recover a missing painting, she's the first one her siblings turn to for stealing it back. No one expects that in doing so, she'll also abduct a handsome duke. Lawrence Gosling, the Duke of Faircliff, is tortured by his father's mistakes. To repair his state's ruined reputation, he must wed a highborn heiress. Yet when he finds himself in a carriage being driven hell for leather down the cobblestone streets of London by a beautiful woman who refuses to heed his commands, he fears his heart is hers. But how can he sacrifice his family's legacy to follow true love? So that one, I think it's not going to have any of the tropes that I dislike, but I am really looking forward to getting into that one. And then my backup that I have is actually an FF romance. This is by Olivia Waite, and it's The Hellions Waltz. So Olivia Waite was very popular for the Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics, which is like a lady scientist historical, and I haven't actually seen anyone pick up this book. I think this is the next book in the series. So this one is all about Sophie, who hates nothing more than a swindler, after her family lost their piano shop to a con man in London. They're trying to start fresh in a new town. Her father is convinced that Carrisford is an upright and honest place, but Sophie is not so sure. She has grave suspicions about silkweaver Madeline Crewe, whose stunning beauty doesn't hide the fact that she's up to something. All Maddie Crewe needs is one big score, one grand heist to properly fund the Weavers' Union forever. She has found her mark in Mr. Giles, a greedy draper, and the entire association of weavers and tailors and clothing merchants has agreed to help her. The very last thing she needs is a small but determined piano teacher and a composer sticking her nose in other people's business. If Sophie won't be put off, the only thing to do is to seduce her to the cause. Will Sophie's scruples force her to confess the plot before Maddie gets her money, or will Maddie lose her nerve along with her heart? So both the romance and the plot of that sound so fun. And it's interesting that both of these kind of involve cons or heists, so this should be great fun. The next prompt is for a contemporary romance, and for this one I picked The Love Study by Chris Ripper. And so this one's actually interesting. You can see the Adores line here, Carina Press. I actually have a couple of options from there. I didn't realize this until I was picking these out, but Carina Press Adores line is specifically for LGBT plus YA, not YA, contemporary romances. And so I'm really intrigued with that line. I definitely think I will be digging into them more because I've never done any research on them. But this one is all about Declan, who has commitment issues. He's been an office temp for literally years now, and his friends delight in telling people that he left his last boyfriend at the altar. And that's all true, but he's starting to think it's time to start working on his issues. Maybe. When Declan meets Sydney, a popular non-binary YouTuber with an advice show, an opportunity presents itself as part of the love study. Declan will go on a series of dates arranged by Sydney and report back on how the date went in the next episode. The dates are sorta blah. It's not Sydney's fault. The folks participating are mostly great people, but there's no chemistry there. Maybe Declan's just broken. Or maybe the problem is the only person he's feeling chemistry with is Sydney. So great one that's got non-binary rep. I have seen this in quite a few places, but I think the first channel I maybe saw this on was an arc on Beautifully Bookish Bethany months and months and months back. So all the reviews I've heard have made this sound like it's really sweet and very much my thing, so I'm looking forward to this one. And the third prompt on our tier 1 is for sci-fi or fantasy romance. And so I have lots of options for this because I'm a primarily sci-fi and fantasy reader, but the one I picked up is a G.A. Aiken's The Blacksmith Queen. And I think G.A. Aiken is maybe better known under another name, and I can't recall what that name is right now, but she writes under a pen name paranormal romances, and those are kind of quirky. I want to say the most popular one is Hot and Badgered, which is a honey badger shifter romance. So this is more high fantasy. And from what I've heard, I heard about this one from Chelsea Palmer's channel. It kind of reminded me or made me think this might be in the same vein as T. King Fisher's fantasy romance like Sword Heart, where it's very, very funny and sweet and cozy. Possibly, but the read on that, I don't know. We'll see. I would be very excited if it does hit those points. The old king is dead. With the demise of the old king, there's a prophecy that the queen will ascend to the throne of the Hill Lands. Bad news for the king's sons, who are prepared to defend their birthright against all comers. But for blacksmith Keely Smythe, war is great for business, until it looks like the chosen queen will be Beatrix, her younger sister. Now it's all Keely can do to protect her family from the enraged royals. Luckily, Keely doesn't have to fight alone, because thundering to her aid comes a clan of kilt-wearing mountain warriors called the Amakites. Not the most socially adept group, but soldiers have never bothered Keely, and rough, gruff Cade actually seems to respect her. A good thing, because the fierce warrior will be by her side for a much longer ride than any prophecy he ever envisioned. So, sounds fun. Well, we will see if it lives up to my expectations. Then we're on to tier 2, which was my cover prompts. So on tier 2, we have another one of the Adores line. This is for animal on the cover. And I picked up Better Than People by Rowan Parrish. And this one, I don't remember where I've seen this. I've seen this on a couple of different channels. But this is a male-male romance. And it just sounds so sweet. This follows Simon Burke. He has always preferred animals to people. When the countdown to adopting his own dog is unexpectedly put on hold, Simon turns to the PetShare app to find the fluffy TLC he's been missing. Meeting a grumpy children's book illustrator who needs a dog walker isn't easy for the man whose persistent anxiety has colored his whole life. But Jack Matheson's menagerie is just what Simon needs. 4 dogs, 3 cats, and counting. Jack's pack of rescue pets is the only company he needs, but when a bad fall leaves him with a broken leg, Jack is forced to admit he needs help. The help comes in the form of the most beautiful man he's ever seen as complicated and glorious surprise. Being with Jack, talking, walking, making out, is a game changer for Simon, and Simon's company certainly eases the pain of recovery for Jack. But making a real relationship work once Jack's cast comes off will mean compromise, understanding, and lots of love. So it sounds like people who very much, as it says, think animals are better than people, and so they're gonna struggle through connecting with each other. Sounds amazing. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then my other cover prompt was a bare chest on the cover. So I went with A Cowboy to Remember by Rebecca Weatherspoon. Rebecca Weatherspoon is a huge name in romance. I did read Rafe, A Buff Male Nanny, which is another for contemporaries, earlier this year, I think. It's been a while. What is time anymore? But this is probably her more popular series. The other one was self-published, so I'm looking forward to getting into this because it also has a food element. With a headline spot on a hit morning show, the truly mouth-watering culinary skills, Chef Evie Buchanan is perched on the edge of stardom. But at an industry party, a fall lands Evie in the hospital with no memory of who she is. Scrambling to help, Evie's assistant contacts the only family Evie has left, close friends who run the luxury dude ranch in California where Evie grew up. Evie has no recollection of them until former rodeo champion Zach Pleasant walks into her hospital room and she realizes his handsome face has been haunting her dreams. Zach hasn't seen Evie in years, not since their families conducted a campaign to make sure their childhood friendship never turned into anything more. When the young cowboy refused to admit the feelings between them were real, Evie left California, making it clear she never wanted to see Zach again. Now he refuses to make the same mistake twice. Starting fresh is a risk when they have a history. She can't recall, but Zach can't bear to let go of her now. Can he awaken the sleeping beauty inside her who might still love him? So I really like enemies to lovers. This sounds more like second chance romance, but I think it may have the same things where they really have to develop a connection and get to know each other as a result of either her not remembering things or as a result of them kind of having a bad past. So that sounds interesting to me. I tend to like that build up, that slow growth of the relationship. So I think it's going to be a great one. I love her writing style. So then on tier 3, we have one prompt, and that's for a new to you author. And that obviously is a risky prompt because you may just not get along with an author you've never heard of before. So my primary option for this one is adorable. This is Knit Pearl, A Baby and a Girl by Hattie Bell, and this is another one from the Adores line. I couldn't not pick this up. Basically, this is apparently a new release. I haven't seen anybody talk about this somehow, but it looks very cute. Poppy Adams doesn't have a perfect life, and she wasn't ready for the positive test. An unexpected baby, Poppy's unexpected baby, won't exactly have her family doing cartwheels, but she's making the right choice, right? Poppy's totally got this. She just needs a little encouragement, and a knitting group is the perfect place to start. Baby blankets, booties, tiny little hats, small steps toward her new life. But she feels like she's already dropped a stitch when she discovers the knitting group is led by the charismatic Rhiannon. It's not exactly a great time to meet the woman who might just be the love of her life. While the group easily shuffles around to make room for Poppy, it's not so easy fitting her life and Rhiannon together. With the weeks counting down until her baby arrives, Poppy's going to have to decide for herself what truly makes a family. That sounds really sweet, as I said. The pregnancy element is what kind of puts me on edge because I don't like surprise pregnancies, but clearly that's going to be right at the start, and it's not going to be a surprise. So I'm wondering how that's going to be handled here. If it is handled well, I think I will really like this one. And then my other option is another one I have heard nothing about. This is Savor You by Kristen Proby, and she says she's a best-selling author, so but I've never heard anybody talk about it, so this is new to me, and another food-related one. I just love chef books. So cooking isn't what Mia Palazzo does, it's who she is. Food is her passion, her pride, her true love. She's built a stellar menu full of delicious and sexy meals at her restaurant, Seduction. That's the name of the restaurant. Now, after being open for only a few short years, Mia's restaurant is to be featured on Best Bites TV. To say Seduction is a wild success is an understatement. All the blood, sweat, tears, and endless hours of work Mia has put into the restaurant have finally paid off. Then Camden Sawyer, the biggest mistake of her life, walks into her kitchen. Camden's celebrity chef status is world-renowned. He's the best there is, and the kitchen is where he's most at home. He can't resist the invitation to Portland for a showdown against Mia for a new television show. Mia was in his life years ago, and just like before, he's met his match in the beautiful Italian Spitfire. The way she commands the kitchen is mesmerizing, and her recipes are clever and delicious. He's never had qualms about competition, and this is no different. He can't wait to go head-to-head with Mia. But can he convince her the chemistry they share in the kitchen would be just as great in the bedroom? As Mia and Camden face off, neither realizes how high the stakes are as their reputations are put on the line and their hearts are put to the ultimate test. So that one hits so many points, so many tropes that I love. So I think this one is going to be a good one if I get to it. And so that's all of the actual prompts. I did pick up one further option as a bonus if I get through each of the prompts. I picked one that hits all 3 tiers, one prompt from each tier. So this is Hooked on a Phoenix by Ashlyn Case. And so this is a paranormal romance, so tier 1 prompt. This has a bare chest on the cover, so tier 2 prompt, and the author is someone I've never heard of before. So this one is all about Misty Carlisle, who works as a bank teller at Boston's financial district. She has had more rotten luck in her life than most, except when her childhood crush shows up to cash his paycheck. Then her heart races and her mouth goes dry. They might redefine the meaning of quote-unquote safe sex. Gabe Thiero is a firefighter and a phoenix. Like his brothers, his biggest challenge is finding a woman open-minded enough to accept a shapeshifter into her life. When his boyhood friend asks him to watch over his little sister, Misty, he reluctantly agrees. But when the bank where she works gets held up, Gabe does everything he can to protect her. The two of them end up locked in the bank's vault, where things get steamier than either of them ever imagined. So this one sounds very much outside my wheelhouse, but pulpy can be very fun, so I'm willing to give it a try. It might be above my steam level, but we'll see. It should be an interesting one. So those are all my romance picks. So what I want to do with those is, for the ones I have multiple options, I still really want to read them. So I'm going to try to get through one option for every prompt and then come back around at the end and read that third one, or that one that hits all 3 tiers, and then the other alternate options that if I don't DNF anything. So we'll see if I can get through all of that. It's a whole lot. And really those Adores books, I have to say, like the blurb writer for whoever's doing those is really great, because those absolutely pull me in. I will be keeping an eye out for those. Okay, so sorry, I had to do a little jump there to get things organized because a pile fell over. So on to my nonfiction November TBR here. So there are word prompts for this that are kind of what you're supposed to loosely interpret. And so I picked two of those out, and I've got a couple of ideas for other prompts, but we're going to stick with these 2 for now. So the first one, I'm going for style on this. This is Sissy by Jacob Tobiah. And this one has caught my eye. I've never seen anybody talk about this somehow, but it sounds absolutely fascinating. And Jacob is non-gender conforming. So I tend to think of that as being very style related. And you can see they are a very stylish person. So let's read what this is about. From the moment a doctor in Raleigh, North Carolina put male on Jacob Tobiah's birth certificate, everything went wrong. Alongside male came many other, far less neutral words that carried expectations about who Jacob was and who Jacob should be, words like masculine and aggressive and cargo shorts and sports. Naturally sensitive, playful and creative, and glitter obsessed as a child, Jacob was given the label Sissy. In the 2 decades that followed, Sissy joined forces with gay, trans, non-binary, and too queer to function to become a source of pride, and today a rallying cry for a much-needed gender revolution. Through revisiting their childhood and calling out the stereotypes that each of us have faced, Jacob invites us to rethink what we know about gender and offers a bold blueprint for the healed world, one free from gender-based trauma and bursting with trans-inclusive feminism. So it sounds absolutely fabulous to me, and I loved the last line of the author bio. It says, Jacob has worn high heels in the White House twice. That is a great line. So the other one that I'm going to pick up was on my TBR for nonfiction November last year, and I didn't get to it, so that was a bummer. So this one is going to be for treatment, or really mistreatment, and this is The Martyrdom of Colin's Catch the Bear, and I apologize for the glare on this one. There we go, that's a little better. This is only available as an ebook. It's a small indie, or from my library it's only available as an ebook. I think you can buy a paperback, but this is by Carrie Spence, who is actually the trial lawyer for Colin's Catch the Bear. And so this one is all about the untold story of Colin's Catch the Bear, a Lakota Sioux who was wrongfully charged with the murder of a white man in 1982 at Russell Means Yellow Thunder Camp, an AIM encampment in the Black Hills in South Dakota. Though Collins was innocent, he took the fall for the actual killer, a man placed in the camp with the intention of compromising the reputation of AIM. This story reveals the struggle of the American Indian people in their attempt to survive in a white world on land that was stolen from them. We live with Collins and see the beauty that was his, but that was lost over the course of his short lifetime. Today, justice still struggles to be heard, not only in this case, but in many like it in the American Indian nations. So that one sounds really fascinating to me. I grew up very near reservations in Washington, and so I have had friends that were American Indian and have very much seen it, firsthand how much injustice there is. It's a really huge problem that we're struggling to correct, and so reading things like this is very important. And I think as well, this month is Indigathon. I hadn't realized that when I was picking this out, but this would fit for that if you are participating. And this is like I said, an indie. It only has like over 20 ratings on Goodreads, so I think this needs a lot more visibility. So I think that is it for my formal TBR. I do have a couple other things in mind. I specifically really want to get to Broken by Jenny Lawson, her new book, and particularly on audio. Her audiobooks are great. And that's usually a memoir, but I think that'll count for the collection prompt if I get to it, because she usually has kind of a collection of anecdotes or essays put together. So that will be fun if I can get to it. But I'm keeping my expectations low because I really want to do a lot of this romance reading. So that is all for me. Can I read all these books? Maybe. It's always more than I can read, but it will be a moonshot for me here, I think. So here's to hoping I can get to all my books. Here's to hoping you get to all the books that you're planning to read this month. Please let me know down below if you are planning to read any romance or nonfiction for November, or if you have other readathons you're participating in. Thank you so much for writing out this very lengthy TBR with me.